Hi guys, so I've titled this video Elvis and Priscilla, Were They Meant to Be? Just a quick intro into me. I'm 56, 57 in July. I've been a lifelong Elvis fan since I discovered one of his records in my dad's cafe when I was a child, aged around 5 or 6, and that sparked an interest which just stayed with me. And without knowing it, finding that record transformed my life, my personality, and the person I grew up to become. But that's another story. So the reason I've titled this video Elvis and Priscilla, Were They Meant to Be, is because I've posted quite a few Priscilla videos yesterday, and I get many negative comments about Priscilla, some negative comments about Elvis. I get loads of comments talking about their relationship, and not just their relationship when they met in Germany in the 50s, but also in the 60s and the 70s. And these comments can be very nasty and quite cruel, but they can also be very kind and people that really supported their relationship and that are gutted that they ended up separating. So many of the comments that I receive about Elvis's marriage are very serious, and many of the comments I get about Priscilla and the different affairs that she had, I don't know if these comments are correct, but they are making accusations of things that Priscilla did even before she met Elvis, and they're making accusations of things that Priscilla did when they got engaged and after the marriage. And then there's lots of comments to do with Priscilla's affairs while she was still with Elvis. So there's so much out there. And then you get some very heated comments about Lisa Marie Presley and the way that Priscilla was a mother to Lisa, and Scientology and how that affected Lisa, and going forward Ben, obviously Lisa's boy that passed away. So it's a complex situation, and I try and sit on the fence and try and see both sides of the argument when it comes to Elvis and Priscilla. So starting from the 50s, you've got this book out that is called Child Bride that many are talking about, that are making loads of accusations to do with a pre-planned attempt to make Elvis fall in love with Priscilla. Do you guys out there believe the things that are being said in Child Bride? And obviously then we know how she was invited to his home, and she dressed in a sailor's uniform and was very sweet, very young. And Elvis was lonely, and he was still getting over the loss of his mother. She was an American in Germany. And Elvis just found a connection with Priscilla where he just felt he could pour his heart out to her and talk about his mother, also talk about his future, because he did feel that once he joined the army that he would be forgotten. He was very insecure about his future, even though he'd been this massive star around the world and he just released another movie. Colonel Tom Parker obviously promised him that he'd keep him alive whilst he was in the army by releasing things the whole time he was there. And then he would pour his heart out to Priscilla about his insecurities and his ambitions to be a credible actor that was taken seriously. So he would talk about that with her, and they just had a connection, almost, I would say, a lot of trust, that when Elvis did finally go back to America and left Priscilla in Germany, that I think both of them couldn't forget. Now, if you look at the comments I received, you'll be reading that she pursued him and wouldn't let it go and kept writing letters and sending letters to him, kept phoning and pushed herself onto him. You'll get other comments where they'll say that Elvis and Priscilla just kept in touch and that Elvis wanted Priscilla to come to Graceland and make an agreement with Priscilla's father so she could come and get her education in America. And so who knows the truth? Yeah. My feeling from all the different things I've read and all the interviews I've watched is I think they were both keen on each other. And I do think that Elvis, when he brought Priscilla to America, I do think they got on very well. And I do think that he had very good intentions. And I do think he did promise to marry Priscilla. But I also think that as his career took off and the movies just were these massive successes, so Elvis was called away from Graceland or away from their other homes. I know he had a few homes. That it just didn't make sense to take Priscilla with him all the time, especially when Lisa Marie was born. And yes, temptation got Elvis. It definitely did, 100%. Elvis, I would always say Elvis should have been faithful. But I also understand you fans out there, you Elvis fans and Priscilla fans, that she was also unfaithful and she also did wrong. So I said this in one of my last videos that, you know, two wrongs don't make a right, and they're both as bad as each other. And, you know, whether Child Bride is correct or not, or whether all the other books are correct. And I completely understand the fans are not happy where over the decades Priscilla has kept changing her story. And I also completely understand financially Priscilla, I think, went too far and kept going back for more money. I get that. I also understand the Priscilla fans that Elvis and Priscilla stayed good friends right till the end, and they were still phoning each other right till the end. Anyway, if anyone's watching this, just send me a hello and tell me where you're from. I'm in southwest UK near Bristol. So it's a difficult one because some of the comments are cruel, and I sometimes don't know what to say because I understand people's point of view. And some of these comments really break down in detail why they feel this way about Priscilla or Elvis, but mainly Priscilla. And I read the comments and I think, yeah, you got a good point. I completely understand what you're trying to say. And if what they're hearing is true, I get it. But then a lot of the comments, I think, well, is she that bad? Was Priscilla really that bad? And I know that she didn't open Graceland as a living museum completely on her own. I know she had help, and I know Vernon was intending to do it. So I'm just going to drink some of my coffee. But she did decide, she did make this big decision to get Graceland open. They were in very serious financial trouble. And Lisa Marie, I think, was only 9, so there's no way Lisa Marie could do it. And the other twist is this, is that at age 25, when Lisa Marie was to inherit everything, she still allowed Priscilla to carry on managing Graceland and being the boss, basically. So I think at that point, Lisa Marie wanted her to do that job. So she must have been doing it well, with help, with others. And it was a phenomenal success and still is. Now, I do think that after 25, that there were many problems, many arguments behind the scenes, many disagreements. When Lisa Marie started having children, I think that's when things got very complicated. And the different marriages, whether it be Michael Jackson, Nicolas Cage, and I just think, I think Lisa Marie changed her perspective on the Graceland fortune and the home and the income when she had kids. It suddenly was from a different point of view. I also think that Lisa Marie Presley wasn't happy with what Presley was saying in some of her interviews. Because I know that most of the time, if you watch these interviews, Priscilla would praise Elvis, but she definitely would say things that just didn't need to be said. She would obviously bring up his unfaithfulness a lot, bring up his temper. She would bring up the fact that she was stuck home a lot. And she would bring up this fact that he had a separate life and that he would never bring her with him. But she never mentions ever that she was unfaithful and that she had her own life. And she got up to no good, whether it be with the dance instructor or the karate instructor. Priscilla had a very full life away from Elvis. When he was being naughty, she was being naughty. I really believe that. And I do think Priscilla has her eye on the money. I have to say that. But I also think Priscilla has done a lot of good and has helped keep Elvis's memory alive as well. And yeah, I do think she loved it. But I would say in a much harder way, that because I think Elvis's love for Priscilla was much more heartfelt and softer, caring kind of love. Now, some people like to think that when Elvis split up from Priscilla, that his life went wrong and he was very unhappy and miserable. I don't believe that. I think he had some good relationships, definitely with Linda Thomas. And I always say Linda Thomas or Linda Thompson. I get it wrong every time. The latest one I've read about is that he liked Sheila Ryan. We know about Ginger Alder, and I look at that more just before he passed away. And I know that they supposedly got engaged and he proposed to her. And I'm not fully convinced with the Ginger Alden thing, but I'll let you guys decide. Tell me what you think. And she does seem like a lovely lady, a sweet lady, and she's beautiful. But I'm not convinced that Elvis wanted to get married again. I'm not convinced. So overall, what I'm trying to say to you guys is I'm not a Priscilla hater. I'm not. My opinion is 50-50, seeing both points of view. I do lean a bit towards Elvis because Elvis is in my heart. So please tell me your opinions. If you think their relationship was genuine, do you think they ever would have got back together? It's a tough one, isn't it? So I'm just going to go through some of these comments. Actually, I'll quickly tell you the latest videos I've done. I haven't done loads, but just so you know, I always say this to you guys, and that is what I tend to do is I'll do a video and then I'll break it down into shorts, because many of my subscribers are on their phones and they only want to watch short clips. So if it annoys you that I get a video that is 10 minutes long and I do 10 clips, it's for the people on their phones. I also do shorts and wides. So I'll have videos that are to watch on your phone and some videos to watch on your TV or PC. So let me just look at the latest one I did. So I woke up this morning and I come across this rare footage of Elvis in 1968 whilst filming in LA, downtown LA, which was a family were on their way to Disney World and recorded their journey, and somehow come across Elvis doing a film shoot. I'm trying to remember what the let me just so look. I'll just show it you. Look, never seen me talking, and he was filming. Let me just. Yeah, he was filming a film. I can't remember what it was called. It was Love a Little. Is it Love a Little Less? You tell me. Love a Little something. There we are. Love a Little, Live a Little. And I love this footage. It's just so raw and real. I've never seen it before. So I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed watching it. And I tried to do some research on it. Didn't find out very much other than the fact that this family were on the way to go to Disney World. So obviously I'd broken that down into the wide views, I don't know if you can see that, and into the shorts. And when I go through each one that I broke down, the first short I do is, or the first 1 minute thing is when in this interview, Priscilla talks about how she made this massive decision to become one of the executors on behalf of Lisa Marie to basically run Graceland and make the decision with other people to be the boss of Graceland. Then it moves to the next section where she is announcing in front of Graceland's, and this, I think it was 82, And obviously all the press were there, where she's just announcing, I'm running Graceland. Lisa Marie loves it. And this is my new job, my new role, keeping Elvis's memory alive with a living museum, so you can actually see how and where Elvis lived. She looks amazing. She is a stunning, beautiful woman, especially in 1982 when she did that announcement. So I know a lot of you think that it wasn't because of her that Graceland opened. I get it. So then you've got the fact that when she turned 25, Lisa Marie allowed her to carry on running it, and the interviewer was questioning her about that, which I think says a lot. Because if your mother is running everything for you, and you're old enough at 25 to think for yourself and make very serious business decisions, then she must have been doing a good job. Because otherwise, why would have Lisa let her carry on? To me, that's just common sense. So who knows what goes on behind the scenes? And then Priscilla Presley goes on to say that her and Lisa Marie were very close, but they'd had serious ups and downs, typical teenage tantrum type ups and downs that happen in all families, which is so true. But they had got through it and they had survived. And then she goes on to say that Graceland was a massive success and was doing really well. And you can tell in that interview, this is part 5, that she's really proud that it's done so well. And I think that in that interview, she's slightly smug. And I think she's sort of saying to all the doubters who thought Graceland wouldn't work as a living museum, look how successful it is. I get that. And she's right. And then at the end of that interview, I basically say, look, the relationship between Lisa Marie and Priscilla Presley was just extremely complicated. And because at the end of the day, they divorced, and then they had this life as a divorced couple with Lisa Marie. And then you had all the problems that happened when Elvis passed away. So it was very complicated. And I do think that Lisa Marie had very strong issues with Priscilla about the things that Priscilla would say about Elvis. I really do. And Lisa Marie was lovely. She was really there to defend her father. And I think this caused a lot of arguments. And I also will say about Scientology, because obviously they were introduced into Scientology at a very young age. Lisa was. And maybe Ben was as well. I don't know. You can tell me. But I wouldn't say that Scientology was a big fix for the kids at all. I don't know nothing about Scientology, but it just, doesn't seem to me like it was a fix. And I know that early on in her early 20s, Lisa Marie would praise Scientology, but I think that changed as she got older. So, right, let's go to the next one. So after I've done this, I'm going to just read out some comments. So I've done another video showing Elvis and Priscilla in good times, because I'm trying to say, yes, they had many good times, because the videos you see of Elvis and Priscilla when they're in happy times are beautiful. Not just the wedding, just when they're fooling around and they're on vacation, and just when they're doing normal things, and they do look very, very happy together, which that gets to me a bit, because sometimes Priscilla in her interview gives the impression that she was miserable, stuck at home, whilst Elvis was out having the best time of his life. It's not true. She had many, 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 many brilliant times with Elvis, very happy times. She did live a life of luxury. So I've posted that. And then I found an old video, I think, with 1956. And it's basically saying, the DJ, I forget his name now, was basically setting one of his friends from school, and he was a local DJ in Memphis, was saying how Elvis's career had just got to a point in 55. He had a different manager, I've forgotten the manager's name, where for Elvis to propel himself from being just locally famous, so, in and around Memphis, obviously he was a phenomenon in 55. All his shows were just being sellout. But for him to take that leap, so to become a world famous singer, and obviously eventually actor, he needed someone with the right connections to boost him, propel him. And Colonel Tom Parker was that person. I know that there's very strong opinions about Colonel Tom Parker. And I see it all, good and bad. I know he was a nightmare, but I also know he could be amazing. I also know that he was very smart when it comes to merchandising and getting the right deals, like with RCA, etc. I also know he made loads of mistakes. He had a very serious gambling problem in later years when they went to Vegas, and there were many things that should have happened that Colonel stopped. And so again, it's a mixed bag of comments. I get some very nasty comments about Colonel Tom Parker, but then I'll read loads of interviews about Colonel Tom Parker saying how good a person he was and how good he was with his wife when she became very terminally ill. And so it's not all bad, but I would say with Colonel Tom Parker, it's mainly bad. So I think that I might have already mentioned this. Elvis Presley, there's a story from Joe Esposito where Elvis just was on an aeroplane journey, and there was a young boy on the aeroplane who was just chatting with Elvis, and the boy said to Elvis, "Oh, I would love to own a ring like that. One day I will." And Elvis said, "Well, no, you're going to own one now," and gave him this extremely expensive ring. And then when this boy went back home, the police, for some reason, arrested the boy and didn't believe him that Elvis had given him this extremely expensive ring. And then they phoned Joe Esposito up, who confirmed it was true. And I just thought that story was really cute. Then you got this other video, Elvis being silly, where he's putting on this giant tie. Can you see that? I don't know. You probably can't see it. Let's have a look. And it's just showing Elvis being really funny. Love it. And he looks great. He looks happy. I would say early 70s. And then you've got the usual one that we've all seen before, when Elvis in the mid 70s throws water at, is it Marty Lacker? And you can tell Marty Lacker is quite annoyed. Elvis is having a right laugh about it. So, oh yeah, so I've had a lot of reaction to my live stream of Elvis having a bad temper. Now, I didn't make that video to run down Elvis or paint Elvis in a bad light. I'm more just giving a broad opinion on Elvis's temper, saying that actually the video was actually intended to put Elvis in a good light. Because what I was trying to say, look, Elvis is just human, and he did have a short fuse and a temper sometimes. But he always regretted it, and he always tried to make up. And I think sometimes Elvis would stop himself from losing his temper and really hold off. So when he did lose his temper, I think he would sometimes overreact. And, you know, if you were around Elvis when he lost his temper, it wasn't nice. But he didn't lose temper every week, all the time, very regularly. It wasn't like that. It was just now and then. And in his mind, obviously, he always thought he had a great reason for it. Then you got this old footage. Love that footage. I found of Elvis Presley, vintage footage at the International Hotel. So I think that's all of my recent ones. So let's go to my comments. Let's see if we can read out some juicy ones. Let's have a look. I get so many comments. You wouldn't believe how many comments I get. I love them. I read them. I learn so much. These comments have taught me more about Elvis than anything else. I do my best to... look how long that comment is. Look how long that is. Can you see that? Oh, I don't know. The light isn't great. Some of these comments are so long. So long. Right, this is from user SQ1. And I think it's Russian, but it's been... I'm going to start reading it. If it's too much, I'll just move on to the next comment. Everything went badly in the end because from the beginning, it was not good. Everything was built one-sidedly. Elvis may have loved more, but where did this Priscilla come from? Unexpectedly and assertively. And why? Without finishing school, with 2 months left, they feverishly brought her to and left her to live in a house, especially since he was filming. She was 17 years and 10 months old. Okay, well, I'm guessing that's the age that she moved to Graceland. Until she was 18, 2 months, and then she continued to live with him without him. So I'm guessing he's saying she lived with him, but he wasn't there. He brought women, openly met them with them, but she was calm and she liked everything. I think he's saying he was openly unfaithful in front of her. That's what I get from that. As Elvis said, after the wedding, she became a bitch. Why? What happened? Who is behind her? Why? Living on his name and money. Does she destroy Elvis's legacy with her lustful and insignificant films? We know there's a lot of unhappiness with the Priscilla film, which, to be honest with you, I didn't like. I thought it was rubbish. But why, living on his name and money, does she destroy Elvis's legacy with her lustful and insignificant film? And this is a biggie. There are so many fans that are not happy that Priscilla took his name back after the divorce, which I do find odd, and then used, obviously, the Elvis Presley name and the fact she was running Graceland and running all the Elvis things on behalf of Lisa Marie. And people just don't like it that she lived off him, but my guess is she worked really hard to make a success of Graceland. But I get it. I get what you're saying, guys. I do think she wanted to be called Priscilla Bulow. Is it Bulow? For a while. And then eventually took the Presley name back. That don't sit right with me. Sorry, guys. Priscilla fan or not. You don't do that. You don't go, after he's died, I'm going to take his name back, even though I divorced him. It doesn't add up. I would never agree with that. So, let's have a look. So she's making Elvis Presley out to be an abuser and a pervert and a drug addict. And these points, I hear so many comments accusing Elvis of things like that. There's no way Elvis was a pervert or an abuser. I'm sorry, guys. No way. He was not a drug addict. He did definitely get way too carried away with his prescribed medication. And for some reason, he tricked himself into thinking if it was prescribed, it was okay. And we know it wasn't. And yes, he definitely did become addicted to these prescribed medications. And he did sort out different ways of getting hold of these things. I know he had many illnesses. He suffered from a lot of pain. And Elvis will try everything to try and relieve his pain. He had a real serious sleep problem. They even say that Elvis thought if he fell asleep, he may never wake up. And this was a big part of the reason he would take tablets to go to sleep and to wake up. And he would even take medication just before he would go on the big concerts in Vegas to boost him. And then after the concerts, seriously strong tablets to make him go back to sleep. And he thought it was good for him because he was getting his rest. So he would be put to sleep. And then he would get another tablet, which would wake him up. So he would perform better, be more alert and awake at the concert. So from his logical way of thinking, he thought he was doing the right thing. But we all know he wasn't. And yes, he was addicted to a lot of these pills. But I would never call him a drug addict. I don't think he wasn't that type. He wasn't injecting and like strung out on heroin. But I get it. So, why is she taking revenge on him all her life? I do think in the early years, if you watch the early interviews, there were things that Priscilla would say that I just don't think there was any need to. But I think as the years went on, the interviews became more bland and were more kinder to Elvis. So let's have a look. After all, she must understand that the flow of tourists to Graceland will decrease after this. I don't agree with that. I don't think it'll make any difference. I don't think that Priscilla film, even though I didn't like it, I don't think it really badly harmed him. I don't think there was that much in it that, because I have watched it. There was a little bit about his temper. There was a little bit about when he started to be taking the medication more, that he was a bit sort of spaced out and didn't give her any attention. But generally, the film was just a mild-mannered look at Priscilla and Elvis, how they met, and then as Elvis became more successful and their life at Graceland and their other homes, it was just a sort of bland look at. I think generally it was trying to make out Priscilla that she was left alone most of the time and they were just unhappy. And it doesn't really go anywhere, this film. And then you get this bit where you can see that she's had enough and she's thinking of moving out and she wants her own life. And then it sort of finishes. It's pretty boring, yeah. And I think, is it Kaylee Spaney was beautiful and looked great as Priscilla, a young Priscilla. But the guy who played Elvis, my memory is terrible. I'm sorry, I like him, but it was crap. He definitely shouldn't have played Elvis. Anyway, to say that she is a great beauty is to say nothing. I mean, she was a beautiful woman, and for her age, still looks good. And then here, this comment says she's pretty, but nothing more. I can't agree with that. She was stunning when she was young. And as a young woman, she was very beautiful. But obviously, we've all got our own tastes. There are such beautiful women who take your breath away. Yeah, there are. I didn't say she was the most beautiful woman in the world, just that she was a beauty. And Elvis had good taste. Literate and educated. I think she was, but I'm not sure. She wasn't literate in the way that Elvis was, but Elvis was obsessed with reading books. He loved reading books, and he read everything. So no, she wasn't literate in the way Elvis was, but Elvis definitely was not educated. Anyway, it seems that everything was someone's plan from the beginning, and I definitely don't agree with that. I'm not a fan of the Child Bride book. I'm sorry, guys. I need to be convinced more about that. You know, it's a pity everyone died and no one would tell the truth. So obviously, the deaths in the Presley families is horrible. Everyone died way too young, and you know, my heart bleeds about Lisa Marie and Ben so much, and Elvis to lose his mother at, I think she was 47. It's just way too young, especially because they were so close. 42 is like it's like a child. I'm 56, and to die at 42, it's so young, so sad. The Presleys really have gone through it, and I think Lisa Marie was she 55 when she passed? I should know this, but way too young, way too young. Anyway, so it's a pity everyone died. Yeah. Billy and Joe also decided not to touch this topic. So yeah, I do watch Billy and Joe's interviews. Billy obviously is still going now. Joe has passed away. And then we go on to, then he mentioned Scientology, which is I'm not a fan of Scientology. I'm not going to lie to you, but I, again, don't know enough about it. So that was quite a long comment, I think. So whatever you think about that. So let's see if we can go back to some more comments. Let's have a look. Yeah, someone just has a funny thing about it. The 1968 footage is better than most UFO sightings. So obviously we've got all the conspiracy theories that we hear about Elvis, which I just laugh at. It's just funny. One comment about Priscilla. Right, you're doing well, dollar queen. Calls Priscilla a dollar queen. It's a sly way of calling her a money grabber. Let's have a look. Look, the world's best gold digger. I told you, I get so many comments about Priscilla. It's ridiculous. Like, you've got there's a Elvis channel on here called Heavenly Presley, and her name's Tonya. She's put a few comments on here to do with Sheila Ryan, I think. And it's a good channel, by the way, if you want to watch that, guys. Great. So let's just have a look. Yeah, so these comments, look, just a trashy gold digging family. Vernon knew Elvis didn't want to marry her. Jerry just says what Priscilla wants him to. Anyone that can take money from Lisa now, the grandkids, Jerry, you love Lisa, Memphis would want you to tell it the way it was. Yeah, and that's not an English comment, but yeah, Jerry was very close to Priscilla and Lisa. And we all know Jerry Schilling took her to the award ceremony. So I could go on and on, actually. A lot of these felt like she looks not for Elvis. The only thing is the money and the party. And then it says, beautiful man, talented, why most past for what so many people in Elvis' life is mistake for him, his heart is broken. So Elvis probably said to Vernon he didn't like her and he doesn't want her and her kids living with him. Oh, this is the comment. All right, so this is what, because Vernon Presley at some point lived in the house behind Graceland. And I've had quite a few comments on this, that Elvis just did not want. He wasn't happy with the fact that Vernon had married. I think it's very well known this. And Elvis was not going to let them live in Graceland. But what Elvis did do is very kind to, I forget her name, but to the wife of Vernon, and because they had 3 kids, and Elvis really did take them under his wing and was very good to them. Right. So I think that's it. So I'm just curious about if anyone believes Elvis didn't die August the 16th, 1977. Just wondering. I tell you what, I have so many comments talking about that. Right, I'm going to have to go get a phone call. I hope you've enjoyed this, guys. I'm going to give you a wave. And I hope it wasn't too boring. And I'm sending you all love. And I give you a wave.